the New Orleans Saints. Saints moved to 4-4 with a 38-27 win over the Indianapolis Colts. And this is why I hate trying to predict football games. For 5 straight weeks or 6 straight weeks of trying to predict that the Saints offense is going to break out. They got all the playmakers, Sam. I said the same thing over and over again. I finally said I quit. I'm out. I'm out on the Saints. And then they do it. They break out. And Rashid Shaheed does his thing again. And Alvin Kamara is making plays again like it's 2018. And the Saints offense looking a lot better in this game against the Colts.
Kamara was spectacular. Rashid Shaheed was spectacular. He was really good. Like, they tried to take a catch away from him, and then they eventually were like, no, let's keep
that was one of the plays of the game we got to talk about. So the Saints throw for 354 total. 444 of those came from Taysom Hill. They're up a score, and Taysom Hill just chucks it into double coverage. Now, his receiver is Rashid Shaheed.
Yes.
Who's, 5 to 10 plays a week, the best receiver in the NFL. So you'd think he might come down with it. It looked at first like it was going to be an interception, but Shaheed had his hands on it. So it was this contested possession where Shaheed got the 44-yard reception there. And it went from, hey, the Saints may have turned it over in a one-score game late. And it instead became, no, the Saints are setting up what eventually became a touchdown to go up 2 scores. But, yeah, Shaheed was unbelievable. And for the second game this year, when Shaheed got the one-on-one, Derek Carr threw it up to him for another bomb where he whooped poor Tony Brown. Tony Brown starting outside for the Colts, who had a rough one. But it was like the game's on the line. This is what's tough to figure out about Derek Carr. There are games like this where he goes, hey, when I see this one-on-one and I know this guy can't run with Rashid Shaheed, I'm going to give him a chance to make a play. That's how they won a game earlier in the year, I think against Tennessee. That's how they did it in this game against the Colts. Shaheed whoops Tony Brown right off the line. Carr hits him, seals the deal for the Saints. So they have that level of playmaker. Michael Thomas with a couple of big plays in there. I know he was dealing with illness this week. When the Saints are firing, this offense can be really, really good, and they were in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we talked about how Derek Carr gets in this weird zone where he's just sort of somebody described it as, the way sometimes when you create like AI version of something, and it's just not quite right. Like the sort of general components are right, but it doesn't work the way it's supposed to.
Yes.
Like that's how he plays quarterback. But in this game, what he was doing actually connected with what he was reading and the defense, and it was sort of a product of actually playing quarterback as opposed to just these are the things that you're supposed to do as a quarterback. So the first big play to Rashid Shaheed was a perfect example of that. It wasn't just like an aimless heave deep down the field because now it's time to throw a deep ball. It was a good read, right? It was a quarters beater, split 2 deep defensive backs, like the 2 corners, right? The guy that's covering him and the guy from the backside trying to fill the gap the safety leads. Carr reads it, hits his guy perfectly in stride, like great play. So you got the good version of Derek Carr where he does actually read the defense, allow that to take him where he's supposed to go with the football, as opposed to sort of predetermines where he wants to go. And when that happens, he can be a really high-level quarterback. We know that. We've seen that throughout his NFL career. And they've got the receivers to make it happen. Like Chris Olave, reasonably quiet, but like a decent game. And then Shaheed making all those plays and Kamara making insane plays after the catch.
The Kamara plays felt like, in previous weeks we had talked about how he was coming into the game 21st in the NFL in catches despite missing 3 games, but only about 5.5 yards a catch. In previous weeks, it felt like they were just like quick check downs and some schemed up plays. But in this game, it felt like mismatch plays, right? It was just I'm better than the linebackers, and it's a mismatch. And so it fit the flow of the offense for the Saints. When Carr hit him on that little angle route that turned into a touchdown, that's not necessarily, hey, I'm going to look downfield because I'm supposed to, but I'm checking down too early, and Kamara doesn't really have much room to do anything. This was like, hey, this is a mismatch. We're going to exploit it. That's good offense by the Saints, which is we're looking downfield. We're going to give our receivers chances to make plays. When it's open, we're going to hit them. We're going to exploit those mismatches, and then we're going to exploit mismatches when we have them underneath with Kamara. That is the good flow by this Saints offense, which we certainly didn't see the previous week on the Thursday night game against Jacksonville. Now, that could be a big part of the reason, right? We talked earlier about Jacksonville's defense. Makes life really difficult for offenses in the pass game. Colts struggle. They're young on the outside at corner. And the Colts have found themselves, strangely, in shootouts lately.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this should not be their game. They hung tough. They were up 17-7 in this one. DeForest Buckner had a strip sack early on. They had a nice 4th and 1 to get Michael Pittman in the flat. They go for it, to get on the board early. But yeah, I don't think the Colts and Gardner Minshew should really be trying to hang in shootouts every single week.
Not ideally, no. Particularly not. I mean, Minshew got banged up early in this game. It was like 3rd and 1 down at the goal line, and he came out. I can't remember what the play was, like a busted play, and he comes out of it limping. So I don't know how healthy Minshew was for the majority of this game. But yeah, you don't, like, he's this classic quarterback where he's capable of doing some really good things, but in an ideal world, you don't want to turn the thing over to him and have him carry the entire offense.
So yeah, the Saints, Minshew, he didn't have as many. Let me go back to that. He didn't have as many turnover-worthy plays. We highlighted that a bunch on the preview show, but still a bad interception late there, and then a ridiculous touchdown to Ogletree to try to get back within a score late, but not enough for the Colts. You pointed that out to me at that touchdown that he threw on the run.
Mm-hmm.
That was insane.
Yeah,
that it actually got through.
Mm-hmm.
From a Saints perspective here, they're sitting here at 4-4 with, I thought, just lost their schedule. Just lost it. The NFL Jesus site. Remember, GSIS. Once you click out of there, you're in trouble.
You don't want to use PFF.com?
The Jesus site has, I use PFF.com. Absolutely, for everything. But a couple disappointing losses by the Saints. Texans, wrecked by the Bucs. Losing to the Packers after being up 17-0 is going to look pretty bad in hindsight for the Saints. But they're still positioned because everybody in the NFC South is positioned to make a move because the schedule's not great. Coming up now, the Saints have the Bears, a suddenly Kirk Cousins-less Vikings team.
Yeah.
And then they got the Falcons, the team that they're battling for first place in Atlanta in a few weeks. Saints looked like the favorite in this division. They have the Giants on the schedule still, Panthers again, Bucks again, Falcons twice, Rams. I mean, Saints should be able to go on a run here if they can play more consistent, especially the way this offense played in this game.
With the Vikings presumably dropping out of playoff contention from this point on, you should start to prepare yourself for the idea that 2 of these teams are going to make the postseason from this division. Somebody's going to win the division, obviously, but the second or the last wild card spot is probably coming out of this division.
I mean, the Rams are still in the mix too.
Maybe.
Just saying. A lot of teams.
I mean, it's like the Rams.
Hashtag in the mix.
Right. The Rams are a possibility. Who knows what the Vikings will do at quarterback? Maybe they can stay in the mix, and Washington maybe. But, other than that.
Yeah, it's ugly.